Welcome to Massive Passive Cash Flow, the podcast that guides professionals to financial prosperity. Join our community and let's start building your wealth. Here's your host, Gary Wilson.
Welcome back to the Massive Passive Cash Flow podcast. I'm Gary Wilson, your host, and I'm glad to have you back. If you wouldn't mind, if you haven't already done so, is please subscribe to the podcast on whatever your favorite channel is. There's 30 of them that we're on, and obviously the big one's Apple, but you pick the one you want. And while you're out there, before you leave the internet, go visit globalinvestoragent.com. This is where you can find real estate agents. They're not typical agents. They're trained to work with real estate investors. They know how to identify, analyze, and negotiate on and off market deals. Okay. And if you are an agent, you should definitely check out the site because you might want to make this part of your business model, the way the market's going. But regardless, if you're a dentist, an engineer, a pilot, definitely pay attention because we got a great guest today, Bryan Driscoll, all the way up from the Burgh, we call the Burgh, Pittsburgh, where I lived for about 25 years. And we're going to talk about marketing. So I'm going to let him give you all the nuts and bolts of that. But first off, Bryan, thanks for joining us, man. I really appreciate you taking the time. It's great to have somebody on who's also a Yinzer. We used to call ourselves Yinzers, you know.
That's right.
Pittsburgh area. So thanks for doing this, man. I appreciate it, you know.
Hey, thanks for having me, Gary.
Yep. First thing, let's do this. We all start off in life with one plan, one direction, one path, and then a lot of times we have a shift somewhere along the way. Is that your story too, or would you mind kind of tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into the world of SEO and marketing and so forth? Did you come from a different background, or how'd you end up here? You know?
Yeah, sure. So I got into real estate first, right? I went to a seminar, Ron LeGrand seminar back in '98. Yeah. I was like 18 years old, bought his course in the back of the room for like $1,800 and went out. We were doing newspaper ads at the time, had a whole bunch of people calling me wanting to sell their house. Mm-hmm. I got a bunch of people that wanted to sell and I didn't know what to do with them. So I failed miserably on that, right?
Yeah.
So that was back when I was like 18. Back in the early 2000s, I got into digital marketing and that's where I got started doing SEO. And I was working on a platform, it was called Odesk, which is now Upwork. And I was one of the top guys on there. And I was consulting with people and helping them with their digital marketing. And I grew that from freelance into an agency called Think Big Marketing. And we were dealing with like larger national, international type companies, e-commerce, real estate, lead gen, all kinds of different things. Mm-hmm. So then probably about 9 or 10 years ago, I got back into real estate to give it another shot. And I bought a property I found it on Craigslist. Right. Okay. I bought it. It was total freaking hot mess. Bought it cash, fixed it up. I bought it right. So the numbers made sense. And now I kept it, pulled my cash back out and did the BRRRR method. And that got me back into real estate. And that's what I do now on the investing side. I do the BRRRR method. I buy junky properties, fix them, and I hold on to them. I only invest in one zip code. So it's real small portfolio there, like real small area. And then I saw the wholesale fee on that deal. It was like $15,000. So I'm like, nice. Me and my buddy Chad are like, hey, you know what? Let's slap up a website and see if we can generate our own leads to find houses. So that's where Motivated Leads came from, our marketing company we do today, where we specifically help real estate investors generate deals. But it came from our need of trying to find our own deals versus buying from wholesalers.
Yeah. Yeah. I like it. You just gave a lot there, but for everybody listening, the BRRRR method is B. Some people it's 2 R's, 3 R's, 4 R's. It's BRRRR, BRRR. So it's buy, remodel, rent, refinance, repeat. Some people take out the rent part and just flip it. Some people take out the refinance part because they're on cash. And some people just do one, so there's no repeat. But essentially, it's the BRRRR method. Works like a charm. I did the same thing and made quite a bit of money in the Pittsburgh area.
Yeah.
And it was amazing. I wish I'd have kept onto this property because look at the prices now compared to the pre-recession years, back in the early 2000s, what we were paying versus what they're going for now. Just crazy, it's like that everywhere, by the way, too. So
yeah, I like it too, because it's like you're getting free houses.
Yeah. It's amazing. Well, the thing about real estate is it's a tangible asset. It's a tangible income producing asset. So you get capital appreciation and you get cash flow. And because it's physical, it's like gold. I mean, gold, silver, land, it ain't going anywhere. It's you've got it. So it holds value. Real estate never goes to zero. As long as there's a building even if you tore the building down, the land is still worth something. So it never goes to zero. And I think everybody should have some of them. Sure.
Great.
So, well, let's talk a little bit about the SEO and the marketing, because I know in the early years for me, Brian, I was just baffled by it. As soon as I thought I had it figured out, it's like the rules keep changing, and I'm just throwing money at this stuff, and I'm like, well, I don't even know what I'm doing, and the money's just going away and nothing coming. But if you can enlighten us, maybe a little bit education first on marketing in general, like what are the three main parts of it, five main parts, and what part how does SEO fit in? And that'll help them give them some context,
Sure. So anyone in the space, you have multiple ways to do marketing, right? And if you're just in the space, like just getting into real estate, you got to pay with sweat. If you're in the business for a while, you can start paying with money, right? So what I mean by that is whenever say you're a real estate investor, when you just start getting into it, you're going to do things like driving for dollars, door knocking, maybe cold calling, things like that you're physically taking your effort for. It doesn't cost a lot of money, but it costs a lot of time. So in those all marketing is going to work if done consistently, right? So driving for dollars is great because you don't have to spend a lot of money. You can go find those deals, get them, get the profits, and then maybe reinvest those profits to start trying to buy your time back. So we got that kind. Then we got marketing that you can spend money on. And you have outbound marketing, which is like sending mailers, different things like that. And then you have inbound marketing, which is marketing to have people call you. So there's multiple different types of marketing strategies. And depending on where everyone's at and what they're comfortable with, budget-wise and time-wise, and what they're looking to do, that's where you kind of try to find out what works best for you.
Yeah. All right. I like it. Well, I know there's you can do, there's SEO, the art and science of SEO. Then there's obviously Facebook ads where you pay for that, and you can target an audience and narrow things down so you're getting a greater bang for your buck. You like niche it down. Then of course there's like Google ads and pay-per-click. So can we break that down a little bit? Maybe let's talk about probably how about Google ads and pay-per-click first, and then we can, or if you think Facebook should come first, Facebook ads, let's do that. But I want to tie it back so that everybody understands really what SEO really means and why it's so important. I mean, if you're going to put the effort in to have an online presence, everybody needs, even if you're paying somebody to do it, you should at least understand these fundamentals, right?
Yeah, sure. So here's what we have. We'll say 4 different marketing strategies online. There are more, but we'll talk about 4. We have SEO, which is ranking in the free section of Google and trying to get free traffic. We have paid marketing on Facebook and platforms like Facebook and Instagram, where we pay to push ads out on their platform. We have Google pay-per-click. That's where we market and pay on Google to be at the top of the search engine. And then there's things out there also that's pay per lead, where you pay another company just on an a la carte basis to buy the leads, and you don't have to worry about any of the marketing. So SEO, we'll start there. SEO is the ranking in the free section of Google. It takes a long time to get leads, but they're free. So if you think about this, Google's primary purpose is to answer people's questions. So someone types in like sell my house fast in Pittsburgh. Google's looking for the website that answers that for that person searching. And what they're doing is they're looking to find whose website is most relevant to that phrase. So SEO is optimizing your website, like the words on the website, the structure of the website, links to your website that they kind of look at as votes. And you're trying to make a holistic website that talks about what you're trying to rank for, and Google will rank you accordingly, right? That's the goal. Okay. So you can do that yourself just by writing the content, a lot of research. You can pay companies to do it. Either way, it's a slow process because we're not paying to be at the top. You'll get leads that might take 6 months, right? So I would recommend every company at least do something like that. Just in the long run, have a website and constantly be trying to optimize, even if you're doing it yourself. Next, we have Facebook ads. That's paying Facebook to push ads out for you. And they'll push them on Facebook and Instagram. In this platform, we're creating images and videos, things like that, and we're targeting people based on their behavior. So it's like when you go on to Amazon and you're looking at a pair of shoes, and then your Facebook feed happens to be full of shoes, like they're able to track what people are doing and show them ads that are relevant. So we put ads in our space, like sell your house fast, we buy houses cash, things like that. And we're trying to find people that want to sell their house quickly. And you can push those ads out. The bidding between or the pricing, we'll say, between Facebook and Google pay-per-click is different. Google pay-per-click's pretty expensive because you're paying per click. Facebook, you're paying on an impression share. So what that means is you're not in direct competition with other investors. You're paying $20 to show 1,000, to show your ad maybe 1,000 times. And you're competing with bakeries, shoe stores, all the businesses that are targeting that area. So it ends up being a little bit cheaper to get a lead, but also the intent's not there because you figure on Facebook, you're interrupting what they're doing. They're trying to like look at their kids and things like that. You're putting the ad in front of them, but it's a really good way to get leads, right? So, and then you have Google pay-per-click, which is paying to be at the top of Google. That has really high intent because somebody's searching sell my house fast. They're looking for you.
Okay.
But you might spend like $30 to $50 per click. So you want to be really, really careful to optimize your web or have someone that knows what you're doing bidding on the keywords, because if you're bidding on phrases like sell my house versus sell my house fast, one of them's like an MLS deal versus the other one's for investors. So you want to make sure to be really optimized there. And then the last thing is you can do a pay-per-lead service where a company like ours or any company does marketing, generates the leads, and then just sells them to you on an a la carte basis too. So that's kind of like on the digital side, 4 types of marketing there for a long answer.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, let's can we give an example or even like a real life case study of someone you help? Could be in a restaurant, a real estate investor, because we're all investors here. Or even a real estate agent, what I like to call the investor agents, the agents who were trained to work with the investors, what they could do or how they could use this, like a practical application, I guess is what I'm saying,
Sure. So I only deal with real estate investors and agents. Like we deal with agents that are investors. So that's all we deal with, right? Practical ways you can do it. Number one, Facebook retargeting. Make sure that I would take videos of yourself. Like I would take a video of myself. Hey, this is Bryan. I'm an investor here in Pittsburgh. I buy houses. If you have a junky house, click the link below, right? A short 15-second video. Make it on your phone. Doesn't have to be super professional. And set up a Facebook retargeting ad for anyone who's on your website. You can also use client testimonials as those ads. And what you're trying to do, anyone who's engaged with your brand or website, you want to stay in front of them and build that credibility because they're not ready yet. Like someone might be looking to sell their house in 60 days and they're not ready yet, but they're starting to look around. You want to be that person in front of them for the next 60 days, right? So that's a really good one on the Facebook side, like an easy one that everybody can do. And it doesn't cost a lot of money. You can set up a Facebook retargeting campaign for like $5 a day.
Okay.
Another thing on Google ads, especially like for people more starting out and seasoned people, make sure you're bidding on your name. I know a lot of investors I talk to are sending tons of mailers, doing tons of marketing. People go to Google to look you up. Like 76% of people are going to look you up before doing business with you. If you're not bidding on your name, your competition is. So you spend all the money sending the mailer to people. They Google you, click your competitor. They think they're talking to you, but if the competitor is pretty good and like they like them, they just stole your business. So like that's something important there also.
Yeah. I wasn't aware of that. That's pretty interesting. And I'm sure some people are a little bit scared, but, well, okay. So now, so I can see how the application can work for investors and the agents serving the investors. Now, going forward, like the way the world's changed, I mean, it just seems like technology is just, the speed of evolution and innovation is just ever increasing ever so quickly. So in the last couple of years, there's been a lot of talk about the metaverse and blockchain processing. And now all of a sudden, AI that's been around, artificial intelligence for a while. When I was in college, we actually worked on artificial intelligence, but now it's far more advanced. But how do you see, or do you see things like the metaverse and blockchain processing having an impact? I mean, to me, I think it's positive. I think innovation, just like nuclear power, can be used for good or for bad, right? But I think at the end of the day, these things are going to help people. I mean, have you thought about let's just take like the metaverse, Web 3.0 and all that. Is that part of have you looked at that to figure out what does it impact what we're doing? Does it not impact? Any thoughts along those lines?
Well, artificial intelligence in general, definitely influences what we're doing, right?
Okay.
So, for example, even like we were talking about Facebook retargeting, that's all AI based. It's all based on behaviors, demographics, things like that. So that Facebook and everyone's been using AI for years, and it's really, really smart. The public's just starting to see some of the things, and it's really good for marketers. It's a little bit intrusive for users, right? So it's scary a little bit on the user side because of all the data. So what's happening is, just in a nutshell, so one thing, Facebook has something that's called a Facebook pixel. So you put that on basically every website in the world has that. And what that's doing, that's watching your behavior when you're searching online. And that's how they're able to show you the ads they show you. Like my Facebook feed's not filled with dresses and shoes. It's filled with ads on real estate and success, things like that, because that's the stuff I'm interested in. My wife will have shoes, you know? So what they're doing is they're taking all these data points based on what they know about you, what's online, and your browsing behavior, taking that data and basing decisions on what to do with that data and how to show you ads. So just from an advertising standpoint, from a marketing point of view, it's really good. But also, if you think about it from a consumer side, they have all this data on you and you're giving it to them for free. So who knows in the future what's going to happen with that? So you're right. It's going to be, if it's in the right hands, it's going to be positive. And if it gets in the wrong hands, it's going to be negative.
We'll be right back with the Massive Passive Cash Flow podcast after I invite you to Monday Night Live. Every Monday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, I teach a class without fail for you on subjects ranging from flipping to buying rentals, managing rentals, wholesaling, commercial, creative purchasing techniques, analyzing properties, identifying properties, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of subjects. And if you are a licensee, if you have a real estate license, you should definitely tap in because there are a lot of investor agents also in the class. Many of them are on the global investor agent team. So you can learn from them as well as from me how to actually work with investors correctly and profitably. All right, we'll see you Monday night. The link is in the show notes. Go ahead and register. We'll get right to the Massive Passive Cash Flow podcast. Okay. Well, you mentioned let's talk about measuring like key performance indicators. You kind of touch on it. You mentioned it briefly in the context of the broader discussion, but how can people actually measure and track the results of what they're doing? Maybe let's just take Facebook, because I've been on Facebook before, and there's a lot of functionality there, and it can be intimidating too. I mean, it's like, I have to be able to even know what that stuff means, but how do you know? I mean, other than the results where you get more people reaching out to you, I mean, how do you know internally, how what you're doing is performing? Is it easy to determine that, and what kind of tools are there?
Yeah, sure. So what I look at in KPIs, when you're running ads, for an example, you have different KPIs to look at, like cost per click, click-through rate, cost per lead, cost per impression. So what I'm looking at is mainly what's my cost per click, what's my cost per lead, and then I can look at, okay, if my cost, like if I'm looking at a campaign to see whether it's working or not, I'm going to look at the cost per click. If the cost per click's cheap, that means my ads are good. That, or at least getting engagement. Like I'm getting a cheap click-through rate on them. So if I'm getting a cheap click-through rate that has a transparent message on it, and I'm not getting leads, that means, okay, I need to look at my landing page, see what's wrong there, because people are going to the site, but they don't like it. Like they're not doing whatever it is. Right. But then also, if I look at my cost per click is really high, it's like, okay, I need to look at my ads. Maybe my ads are no good. Maybe they have bad messaging on them because people aren't clicking them. Things like that. And then what you look at too is I look at, okay, once we get the leads, what's the cost per lead? Is that acceptable? And then do we get appointments? Are they qualified appointments? Do we get agreements or not? And do we close them? So we'll look at the whole KPIs on the back end too, because if we can get a bunch of leads, and if they don't turn to appointments, it's like, okay, now we got to look at the ads and landing page. Is something off in the message? Are we misleading people or offering them something like, for example, if you have an ad that says, find out how much your house is worth, you're going to get a lot of leads for cheap, and they're going to be garbage. Okay. Because they just want to know how much their house is worth. Versus if you put an ad out that says, sell your house fast, we're cash home buyers, you'll get less leads. They'll be more expensive, but the message was there that you're going to get people most likely with distressed properties. So you want to look at the whole way down the funnel, like how many leads you get, how many of those leads turn into an appointment, how many of the appointments turn into contracts, and how many of those contracts actually close. And then watch all those. And then in between each section, you'll see if there's a bottleneck on them. If we could,
you mentioned there's some really good stuff, and I appreciate all the content you're giving. So what are some tips that we can give people to help them improve their results? Like, you talked about the nature, like what your message is. And to me, that makes total sense. You could put out a message that will appeal to a lot of people, but that doesn't mean they're really interested in selling. Or you can have a more specific, detailed message that might speak to fewer people, but those people might be more highly motivated. So within that context, I mean, how do you even come up with this stuff? How do you know what the messages are? You know
what I like to do. So I'm in the investor space, right? And I'm an investor, and I deal with sellers. So what I always like to do is I try to think about what are their problems, what are they looking for, and that's how I come up with my messaging. So I know a lot of people we buy properties from are looking for convenience. A lot of them are looking to sell their property that's a piece of junk, like it's really bad condition, and they don't have the money to fix it. A lot of people inherited a home, and they don't want to they don't have the money to fix that one also. So I try to think about what are those problems, and then how can we solve them? So it's like we buy houses, we pay cash, we close fast. We buy properties in as is condition, no repairs needed, things like that. So to try to let people know, okay, we have the solution for what you're looking for here. And I kind of work on that. That's kind of how I come up with the message. And it's mainly just think about the problems and how you can help people.
Okay. Now, does that same, so that's in the context of Facebook ads, does that same thing apply to the Google pay-per-click? Or what's the difference, if there is a difference between Facebook paid ads and Google pay-per-click? Because it seems like, and which one is the one you would lean more towards? Like what's more popular right now, getting better results?
Sure. So Facebook and Google are different. So Facebook, you're showing images, ads, things like that. You're not bidding on keywords. So when I say like, I put phrases like we sell your house fast, it'll be an image with a beat up house saying sell your house fast. We buy houses and pay cash. On Google, I still think the same way. I'm thinking, okay, if someone's Googling, what are they looking for? And they're looking for keywords like sell my house fast, for an example. On Google, you have to be really particular because it's really, really expensive. So if you're bidding on a keyword that says sell my house fast, you'll get the right person. If you're bidding on keywords that say sell my house, you're going to get a whole bunch of people that want top dollar. So if you're an investor, that's not what you want. If you're an agent investor, then maybe you do want that. So you have to be always constantly thinking. And Google's tricky because selling the keywords are really, really close to what somebody that's motivated would type in versus just somebody that wants to sell their house. So you have to constantly be looking. Inside of Google, there's something on the left-hand side of your account that says search terms. So for example, if I bid on a keyword that says sell my house fast, it'll show me, because Google will rank me for different phrases around that theme. So it'll show me different phrases that we actually rank for. So sometimes it might have things about mobile homes. It might have things about apartments. So I can see that and I paid $30 for that click. What I can do is set it as a negative keyword. Once I see it, it's like, okay, go take the word mobile home and make it a negative keyword, which means Google's not going to show that anymore. So that's a tip. Anyone running Google ads, check your search terms very closely, like weekly, and keep putting negative keywords in there for phrases you don't want to rank for, because you want to keep whittling those out so you don't have to pay for them more than once.
Okay. All right. This is all really good stuff. So now I'm sure people are thinking like I am, especially those of us who invest, which is most of us on this podcast, applying all this to real estate is leading me to think more about your own real estate investing. And I know you mentioned in the beginning, you try to narrow one area. So what is it about focusing it on one zip code versus having your eggs in multiple baskets around? Like, as I'm familiar with the area, the Pittsburgh MSA is like 7 counties. Clearly, Allegheny County is going to have the greatest population, but is there a reason, or what kind of fill us in? What's the reasoning for just focusing on one zip code?
Yeah, sure. So my reasoning is a little bit different. I'm a digital marketer by trade, and I'm an investor just because I like real estate a lot. So I don't want to drive far, just because my time's limited. So I want to find properties that I can get to within 5 minutes, because dealing with contractors, back and forth, I don't want to deal with all that kind of stuff. Most investors, you want to do at least the entire county, because you're not going to get enough volume in such a small area, and it's really hard to target one area. But the reason I do it is, though, it's just I want to invest in my backyard because I'm limited on time.
Yeah, that's a good reason. Yeah. It's funny. I was thinking, also might have something to do with the cost of advertising, because and I know I'm kind of jumping around here a little bit, but if I have all these questions, is it better to when you're marketing to target a specific geographic area so you can put more muscle behind that ad in a smaller specific area? I don't know if I'm saying this right, but if I spend $1 million, am I going to get more bang for my buck in one zip code as opposed to an entire county?
Yeah. So here's what you want to look at. The way digital works is the broader the area you target, the cheaper the lead cost should be, right? In real estate, we can't target one zip code. So I have to target all of Allegheny County. And then I just cherry pick the ones that come in my zip code. And then we have the pay-per lead service where we just sell all the extra leads that don't come in that I don't want. But what you're looking at is if you were in your area, like anyone's area, you can target your county, right? You might get leads for $200, $250, whatever it is. Or if you target your entire state, you might get leads for $150. And then if you target the entire country, leads might be like $80. So I see a lot of people get focused on, hey, you know what? Maybe we need to go broader, which is opposite what you were asking, but go broader to get a cheaper lead cost. What I recommend is you want to go as broad as you can, where you have boots on the ground, good processes, good systems, so you can actually handle the leads. Because cheap leads don't do anything. If I'm in Pittsburgh and I get leads in Florida and I don't know what to do with them. So you want to target like where your actual market is that you want deals from.
Okay. All right. That makes sense. I appreciate that. And I know we're going to get closer on time, but I got to ask you, I noticed that you don't actually pull money out of your properties. Is that right? Like you keep everything in the properties?
Yeah. So what I do is I'll give you an example. I buy a property for $100,000 cash. I'll put 30 into it. And then I go to the bank. It might appraise at 230. Then I go to the bank and I pull my 130 back out, but I leave the rest of the equity in there just because I don't want to be over leveraged. So I do pull my initial investment back because I want to keep reinvesting that and keep reusing it and buy properties. But I don't leave all the cash sitting there, but I pull my initial cash out, but I leave the profit that a lot of guys would pull out. I leave that in the property as equity just because I just want to have low leveraged properties, but I do pull my initial money out.
Yeah. And you take your monthly cash flow, right? I guess the rent's the net operating income. You do take that and do you live off of that, or you just bank it to do other things and save it up to buy other properties?
You know what? I just bank it. Like it just sits in an account. I have all these properties and I have all these different LLCs for the properties, and the money just sits there. And then when I need a roof, boom, I got the cash. I don't have to worry about it. Yeah. So those properties, my properties don't cash flow. Well, they cash flow pretty decent, but I have properties in like AB neighborhoods that have lower cash flow, but I get more equity versus buying in like the CD neighborhoods. I could buy cheap properties that cash flow heavy. I prefer the nicer neighborhoods just because I don't want to get shot, But also I do. I just leave the cash flow. I reinvest it in new properties, things like that.
Yeah. It's interesting. I did the same thing, Brian, when I was getting started. Again, I would buy low, remodel them, do the BRRRR method. When it came to refinancing time, very rarely did I take excess cash. I would just basically refinance to pay my capital back so I can do the next one. I did take out a little extra every now and then, but it was for the purpose of either buying more property or buying a bigger, better property, right? And you mentioned something really important. This is everybody listening here. You want to buy the right properties in the right areas. And I know that sounds like a cliche, but it's true. You do not want to buy cheap properties in cheap areas, right? You want to buy underpriced properties in good areas. Over time, if you have better properties that are appraising into the hundreds of thousands, it's variable. So let's just say median home price or better in good areas, we're going to get higher rents and better tenants. I promise you, over time, you'll have more capital appreciation. You'll have better rents coming in, higher rents coming in over time, and less headaches. Okay. Extremely important. And I would bank the cash flow too. And that's what I would use to save up to go buy the next property, And at the end of the day, I had a really strong equity position, and I didn't have to call banks. Banks called me, and I'm sure you've seen that too. Your bank will probably call you, hey, you need any more money? Because they make money by lending money. And it's the craziest kind of, I don't know what you want to call it, an oxymoron that, the better you get at this, the less money you need to borrow from other people. You know, you
Right.
can do your own thing and be your own bank, use your properties as your bank. Yet you're the exact person the banks want to lend money to because you're a good credit risk, you know. Hey, I know we're at the 30-minute time limit here, but we kind of covered two basic topics that are very much related. You know, advertising using paid ads, pay per click, particularly, and real estate investing. Any final thoughts? Words of wisdom, Bryan, you'd like to share with people? Maybe something you learned from your dad or granddad or grandmom. Anything you want to leave people with before we head off in the sunset here.
Yeah, my biggest tip for people, especially people that are just getting into it or talking about making business decisions, things like that, and taking the leap, just do it. Like, I'm a believer in, which might not be the right way, but I jump out of the airplane and I'm making a shoot on the way down. Like, if I get an idea, you have to be smart about it. Don't just be an idiot, just trying to get into all these shiny object type of things.
Right.
But I see a lot of people, especially trying to get into these things, especially in marketing. They're like, oh, you know what? I need to start doing marketing, but I have to get a good logo. And then, I got to get the brand right. And I have to get the website up. It's like, no, just start doing something small. And then it's going to take you down the road to seeing what problems are and fixing them. So just basically jump in the pool and see if you can swim. Yeah,
I appreciate that. And now for anybody looking to work with you, because you mentioned one thing that I think people will be intrigued by is you cherry pick the ones you want in your zip code, and that leaves a lot of other zip codes in Allegheny County. And you sell those to other investors for them to try to get the deals on those. Is that what you're doing?
Sure. So what we offer is a pay per lead service. Okay. So we do marketing all across the nation. Okay. And we generate leads, just like I was talking about, through Facebook, Google, all the different platforms. And we sell those to investors and agent investors on an a la carte basis. So there's no monthly fees. And people can buy those leads in real time and then go do it. And they don't have to learn how to market. They just have to. Very important with digital. One thing we didn't talk about. Yeah. If you get a lead on digital marketing, you need to call them within a minute or two. Speed is very important. And if somebody calls you, answer it.
Yeah. Yep. We had such interesting. As you're talking, I'm thinking about one of my favorite agents there in Pittsburgh. His name's Dustin Nolf.
Dustin.
Yep. So I've known him for years, and I didn't really train him directly, but he used to, when he got started, he said he would just look at my listings and literally copy the structure, because I would, in the remarks, I would literally give all the details, all the data, where most agents would just say, duplex, nice area, blah, 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 and nothing. And then you got to call to get the details. I realized I didn't want all those calls because a lot of them are tire kickers. But if I put the specific details, I would get the right calls from the right people, almost like what you're saying about your messaging. Well, Dustin just started copying that, and now he's got a big brokerage team. So anybody looking to invest in Pittsburgh, Dustin Nolf, N-U-L-F, the Dustin Nolf team, look him up, man. He's got like 24 agents. And they're investor agents. They know what they're doing, man. I'm telling you, I know them personally. So, well, let's get back to you, Bryan. How can people get a hold of you? Like, if they want to have you work with them to get some of this set up? Because I know, I'm going to have you teach. I teach a class every Monday night. We call it Monday Night Live, and I'd like to invite you formally to teach on that, to show my guys, because we're in 36 states. And anybody else that are listening, just write this down, what Bryan's going to give you. So website. Anything, what's the best way for us to work with you, and how do we do that?
Yeah, best way to get a hold of me is go to our website. It's motivatedleads.com. So motivatedleads.com.
Okay. All right. And just go from there. There'll be information there to follow. And
yep. Yeah, we have forms on there you can fill out and we can chat. Just give us a call at the number on there too.
Gotcha. All right. Motivatedleads.com. Well, listen, Bryan, I really appreciate you doing this. I know we went over it, but it's two of my favorite subjects, and one I understand well, real estate. The other one, I scratch my head, and that's why thank goodness for guys like you.
Yeah. Hey, well, thanks, Gary.
Yeah, and everybody listening, thank you too for listening. If you could please leave a review for this podcast. That's what makes the podcast world go around. It's really important for consumers to leave reviews. We certainly appreciate it. And while you're out there, go to it's motivatedleads.com. Is that right?
That's right.
Motivatedleads.com. And then the last stop would be globalinvestoragent.com. And if you are an agent, I can't emphasize this enough, guys. I'm not trying to, this is not time to panic. It's time to prepare. But the data is in, we're going to have a recession. We can't tell you when it's going to start. If we could, we'd all be billionaires, right? But it's a mathematical certainty. Dude, it's not time to stick your, This is not a wait and see scenario. This is a take action analysis scenario. You can team up with Dustin. You can team up with Bryan and get yourself some business. So do that, and we will see you on the next Massive Passive Cash Flow podcast.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Massive Passive Cash Flow. Be sure to go to realestatewithgarywilson.com to join our community and start building wealth today.